All right, this is Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? I don't even know anymore. I should have decided that before I started. This is Tuesday in 6th period, and we're looking at our project for Sci-Fi and Fantasy, which I'm going to post something new today, but it's not a new direction. It's just the next step of the project. So, quick recap. We're looking at a topic called the hero's journey, and I put links to videos and examples and some stuff that I've made and some stuff that other people have made. Basically, this is a structure that a lot of stories fit into, regardless of time or place, and there are certain types of characters. For example, the hero, the mentor, a trickster character who will be mischievous, a shapeshifter who will be untrustworthy, and so on. And that can, affect how you write consciously, or even if you don't, it will just show up. And the idea is that these are sort of, psychological archetypes that come out whether you want or not. And so these are applicable to many cultures and many types of stories. The steps that a hero goes through are listed on this doc, and there are 17, which I know is a lot. That's what was initially listed in a book by a guy named Joseph Campbell, but you don't have to address every 17 in your project. I think the example I did had like 8 or 9. I did an example from Star Wars because I hope it's well known. I hope you guys recognize this stuff. I know it's hard to find examples. There was a class last year where I tried to use The Matrix as an example, and it turns out nobody knew anything about The Matrix. So when for me that was like the coolest thing in the world when I think I was 12 when that came out. Let's see, I used 8 steps in this example slideshow, and each one has a different character type as well. So you get the hero, you get the mentor, and so on. Basically the idea is that your hero starts out in the normal world. They might be a farmer or a peasant or a sort of standard person, usually a young person, but it doesn't have to be. And then they learn about the existence of a special world. It might be a new dimension or a new planet, or maybe it's a world that existed all along, sort of like there was magic and you didn't know it, like in Harry Potter, or there are aliens and you didn't know it, like in Men in Black. That's a very common style as well. But you meet somebody who's already been to this special world and they know about it and they know the rules and they can tell you what you need. So they might give you a sword. What'd you say? Graduate in May, I believe so. Well, actually, for this year, we don't know yet because the calendar is not official, but it's usually May. Yeah, I know some people graduate early, and it's always a little unclear, especially this year because we're doing everything differently. Let's see. Actually, I just said it a minute ago. Men in Black would be a great example for this. But again, that's another 90s movie. I don't know if you guys are familiar with. Do you know Men in Black? Yeah. Second one, not very good. Third one, I like it. Yeah, the third one is the one where they have time travel and young and old versions of the characters and all of that stuff. But the first movie from, I think, 96 or 97, maybe later, is very good because you've got Will Smith as the hero and Tommy Lee Jones as the mentor. He gives Will Smith a little item. He gives him the memory erasing device. All this stuff really follows these patterns. And so you cross the threshold, you go into the magical world, and you find dangers, and you have to learn who you can trust and who you can fight and who you have to avoid. And often there might be like magic words that you can't say, and there might be temptations from money or sex or drugs or something like that, and you have to escape those. A good example of that temptation type of storyline would be in the Odyssey. Odysseus goes to an island where people eat this plant called the lotus, and they all become sort of lazy, and they love to stay on this island, and they don't want to go, and they don't want to go back to their normal life. There's a version of that in the Percy Jackson stories, if you know that. There's a version of that in a lot of different media. And then you get to the Abyss, which is like the enemy's home base. You might be in the Death Star, or you might be in the castle. Dracula's castle would be another classic example of this. And then the hero has to grow. They're not really a hero at the beginning. They're just a normal person. They have to live up to their potential. They have to transform. Usually the mentor dies or leaves or turns against them, and the hero doesn't have someone to help. They have to help themselves.
I got one question.
Yep.
Why does the mentor, I see some movies done that, why does the mentor betray the hero? But why do you teach him anyway?
Yeah, that is a funny thing sometimes when you have the mentor turn against you. Like, I think the example I always come up with is Batman Begins, when Liam Neeson says, "Oh, by the way, I'm the bad guy all along. I'm Ra's al Ghul," and that one kind of makes sense because he had a reason to do his stuff. He had a reason to train young assassins, and it's not like we have to forget everything that came before, but you got to be careful doing a twist in the story.
At the same time, it's almost like they're a father or a mother to you, and you can't like they'll say kill you, but then you'll be like, I can't kill this dude.
Yeah, I know. Often it does happen when a story has a twist, this kind of twist or a different one. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense, and it sounds cool at the time. You're like, whoa, this guy's a different person. But then you think of it later, and you go, wait a minute. That's kind of not as smart as I thought. And you might find that you just change your mind. You go, you know what? That's not as cool as I thought it was. Once the hero has that transformation, maybe they have to turn against the mentor, or maybe they have to stand up on their own without their friends.
But I really like how Anakin, it's like a reverse thing. In Revenge of the Sith, because Obi-Wan was the mentor of Anakin.
Yeah.
But the plot twist is that Anakin betrayed Obi-Wan.
It's
he's the teacher. Anakin's the student, and Obi-Wan is the teacher.
Mm-hmm. And so that's one where it goes the other way. It might be interesting to see somebody go through the prequels in order without knowing the future. Like when I saw it, I knew what would happen with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. But if somebody watched those and they didn't know that Anakin was going to turn to the dark side and etc., they might expect it to be different. I'm not sure. I'm sure that's happened somewhere. People have watched it in different orders. Then near the end, your hero has to sort of find a new equilibrium, and they'll often have a moment where they're like closing their eyes and finding peace. There's a moment like that in this movie where Luke is trying to fire the weak point of the Death Star, and he can't do it, and everything's frantic, and his computer's not working, so he sucks it all in and hears the voice of his mentor and finally does it. Lots of Star Wars movies have that. I know in Force Awakens there's a part where Rey is fighting Kylo, does the thing of like closing her eyes, and I think she literally just says the Force and then sort of, finds a inner strength. And then at the end you return, and this is not always included in modern stories. They might just end, but in old legends and myths, there would be a part where Beowulf goes home, or King Arthur goes home, or Odysseus goes home, and that's sometimes, half of the story. It's a big part of more ancient tales. So you might find that if you're doing a movie, it might not include this part, or it might be different. So think about that. Anyway, well, I'm going to add one part today, which is, it says, hey, put your slides here. Okay, obviously you don't have to finish it today, but I want to start laying out the steps, because what we've done in this class is we had a presentation last quarter, and it was pretty good. Most of you guys made a video. It was the right length, and it described your stuff, and I was watching them, and I thought, this is better than I thought they would be. But we want to do better this time, so we're going to be more organized, because these are all the same steps, all the same types, rather than you coming up with your versions of your own organization. And you're more experienced, because we've done it before. So you know how to use Loom, maybe you know how to edit, or you might think of a better way to do the audio, or you might think of a better way to, cut out the dead air moments or something. And this time we're going to be more focused on the presentation. So last time it was just extra. It was just like, oh yeah, if you post it and people watch, they get extra points. But this time it's really, our goal is to put these on there, watch them, and make that the goal. So since it is pretty similar to last time, we should be doing well, and we shouldn't be totally lost. If you want to use something else, it doesn't have to be Google Slides. If you want to use some other way of organizing your stuff visually, I know Prezi, Prezi, is an app people use to make more like visually interesting slideshows, where it might zoom in on one part and then zoom in on another part, rather than just one page right after the other. And you don't have to use Loom for your video, but I recommend it. And you don't have to use slides, but I recommend it. So today this says, hey, attach your slides. And if I were you, I would just do that now, even if there's only one, because then it's attached. I can check it whenever I want and offer suggestions. You don't have to turn it in later. It's all right there. And you don't lose anything by turning it in. I know sometimes people have that thing where they attach it and then they hit submit and they can't edit it anymore, so they ask me to send it back. That's fine, but if you attach, I was going to show you, I can't show you because it's different on the teacher versus the student version. If you attach it and then just don't hit submit, then it's great, because you can edit, I can see it, nobody loses anything, nobody has to go through any extra steps. At the end of the day, if there are some turned in and that are submitted, I'll just send them back, because then I can still view it and you can still edit it. So that's the plan. Next week we're going to have e-learning, and I want to do a quiz. I know it's a little weird for e-learning, but I want to do a quiz on just the basic hero's journey stuff, like the character types and the stages they go through. I'll figure out some way, I'm not sure exactly, but I want to do some type of review. If we were all in person, I would do a Kahoot, but Kahoot might be a little difficult to do online. I mean, you could like open it up in one tab and then put your answers in another tab. That would be kind of strange. So I'll find some interactive way of reviewing, and then we'll have a little quiz. Not super long or difficult or anything, but I want to have an assessment grade. I want to have a nice way to show that you know what we're talking about along the way before we get close to the end. So there we go. I'm going to end this. You can watch it later. You can ask me questions, and today we're going to work on the next step of the slides. That was 15 minutes. That was